Today is May 12th, 2024, and this is our weekly update on the ongoing war between Israel and the terrorist organization Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Shalom, my friends. This is Akiva Gersh with Israel in 5, where we give you everything Israel in 5 minutes. Please like and subscribe. And if you have any questions or want to keep the conversation going, please do so below in the comments. The war is now over 7 months long, since October 7th, when thousands of Hamas terrorists entered into Israel, broke their way into Israel, terrorizing communities and brutally attacking and killing hundreds and hundreds, over 1,000, about 1,200 people killed on that one day. This has been a very, very intense chapter in the history of the Jewish people, in the history of Israel, the worst attack against Jews since the Holocaust. This past week has seen a new shlav, a new chapter of this war, as Israel has finally entered into the southern region of Rafah in the Gaza Strip along the border with Egypt. For many, many weeks now, we've been talking about this specific operation. It seemed like already over 2 months ago, it was happening any moment. It took a very long time to happen for many, many different reasons, some of them political. But this past week, when yet another round of peace talks between Israel and Hamas broke down, Hamas demanding absurd things from Israel to do. Israel said, that's it, we're done. And like they had threatened, they said, if these talks fall apart, we will be entering into Rafah. And this happened this past week. And there are hundreds of thousands already of civilians, Palestinian civilians, who have left the area. Israel came into the area, quickly took control over just over the border and alongside the Egyptian border in the Rafah region. And before that, in preparation for this, thousands of soldiers were called up once again. Soldiers who had served for months and months and months in Gaza, who were sent home finally, have been home for about a month, 6 weeks, were called back in specifically for this mission, including friends of mine, family members of mine. The whole country is affected by this war in general, specifically this campaign in specific. And we are now in that region, and we're fighting terrorists. We're discovering new tunnels. And thank God for Israel, the fighting is going well, although they reported, the IDF, that's a new kind of fighting because Hamas had so much time to dig in there and to prepare for the IDF's entry into the area. It is a much more difficult fighting situation there, but thank God Israel is doing well. Israel also has renewed fighting in different areas of the Gaza Strip, areas that it had left, and then Hamas had come back into that area, bringing weapons and arms back into these areas. Israel has had to re-enter these areas and take control. Family members of mine reported over Shabbat that they heard rumbling in their communities, their house actually shaking from the fighting, the renewed fighting taking place in the Gaza Strip. And they don't live right on the Gaza border. They live many, 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 many miles away. But that's the intensity of this fighting. And Israel definitely has entered into a new phase of this war, and continuing to fight against Hamas and to take them out of power completely. God willing, get Sinwar, the head of Hamas in the Gaza Strip, who now they believe is not in Rafah, but in Khan Yunis, an area just north of Rafah. In addition, simultaneously, in parallel, like we bring up every single week, is the fight along the border with Lebanon. This has been unending. This has not ceased for a day since the beginning of this war. The war against Hamas in the Gaza Strip began on October 7th. The war with Hezbollah in southern Lebanon started on October 8th, when they started to attack us with rockets. They have not ceased to do so. Rockets, mortars, anti-tank missiles, all kinds of weapons. And Israel continues to fight Hezbollah in the southern part of Lebanon. But the northern communities have taken a huge hit. Most of the civilians, Israeli civilians up there, have not returned home. Some of these communities are ghost towns. Some of them, unfortunately, the smaller ones right along the border, have been decimated. Many, many houses and buildings completely destroyed. And the big question is when will they be able to go home, and when will they be able to live there once again in peace, safety, and security? In other news connected to the conflict is the big Eurovision contest, music contest out of Europe. And as Israel made it to the finals, which is a big deal for Israel any year in general, specifically this year, after so many months of global protests and hatred towards Israel and Jews worldwide, it is an amazing thing to see Israel get all the way to the finals. And of course, unfortunately, in Malmo, Sweden, there were major protests outside of Eurovision, outside of her hotel, thousands and thousands of people coming and continuing these horrible chants, showing up to protest against an Israeli girl, 22 years old, her presence at the Eurovision Music Festival, which is really all about peace, love, and unity. Eden Golan is the representative of Israel in this year's Eurovision, and all of Israel and all of the Jewish world and all of the pro-Israel people around the world. We're so proud of her and so happy to see her standing up there, smiling and proud, out there with her Israeli flag, really doing Israel such an amazing thing. And we thank her for that. And again, as always, I thank you for your love and support, your prayers, and your constant thinking about Israel in these challenging times. Wishing you a good week. All the best and be well.